Hi, this is Dr. Wassell. Today we are going to talk about building relationships with teachers. This is a critically important skill that you need to master as soon as you enter high school and continue using on through college. So, raise your hand if you want a strong college recommendation letter. Keep it raised if you want teachers who will mentor you, guide you, and maybe become lifelong professional connections. Now here's the secret. Building these relationships starts today, not when you need the cover letter. To begin, let's talk about why teacher relationships matter. Teachers aren't just your instructors. They're the future recommenders who will be giving you those letters of rec for college. They also can provide you with opportunities for leadership, research, and special projects. Furthermore, their recommendations carry significant weight in college applications. Finally, these relationships often extend beyond high school and into college and career. To begin, let's look at the 5 keys to building strong teacher relationships. Number 1, show genuine interest. This means participating meaningfully in class discussions. This means if you walk into a lecture hall and there's 30 seats available, you sit in the front row. This means you introduce yourself to your teacher and make sure that they know your name and how to pronounce it correctly, and you know their name and how to pronounce it correctly. Ask thoughtful questions that show you're engaging with the material. If the class is challenging, make sure at home, while you're doing your homework, you're writing those meaningful questions down before class, so that when you come to class, you're prepared with those meaningful questions. Next, share relevant articles or content that's related to the class topics. These are some ways you can show genuine interest. You can also just ask how their day's going. Number 2, demonstrate responsibility. This is critical. Sometimes high school teachers are given the opportunity to give a certain scholarship to students or a certain opportunity, and they're going to think of the ones that can demonstrate responsibility and represent the school well. How do you demonstrate responsibility? Well, arrive on time or early to class. Submit all your assignments when they are due. Come prepared to class with all of your materials. Take initiative in group work, and just do what needs to be done, right? Sometimes leadership is all about just doing what needs to be done. Number 3, communicate professionally. This means using appropriate email etiquette. When you write to a teacher, you don't just say, "What's this homework for tonight?" Right? Some teachers have hundreds of students and they have no idea who you are or what you're talking about. In an email, make sure the subject line is very specific. If you have a question, mention what class you're in and the question. Then in the body of the email, start with an introduction. "Hello, Mrs. Smith. I have a question on our Othello reading. Were we supposed to only read the first act or also turn in our paragraph? Thank you kindly," and your name, right? Number 2 is address teachers respectfully, right? Don't just say, "Hey, miss," or "Hey, ma'am," or not even know their name. Teacher, right? It's important to know their name and say it appropriately. So, Miss Smith or Ms. Smith or Mrs. Smith, the difference between those has to do with their marital status. So sometimes it's important to just ask the teacher, "Miss Murphy, how would you like us to address you?" You can also ask, "Are you comfortable with Miss, Ms., or Mrs.?" Also, if someone has a degree, such as a master's or a doctorate, it's appropriate to call them by that title, unless they're comfortable enough with you that they've told you to only use their first name. However a teacher asks you to address them, it's important to use that continually in all your conversations with them. Next, make sure that you keep them informed about any absences or issues. All the time things come up, right? You may get sick, You may have a power outage, right? Whatever it is, whatever reason there is that you might miss a class or an assignment, make sure to politely write them an email or write a note that's going to let them know exactly what's happening with you so that they know that you missed their class. Also, thank them for their time. Anytime a teacher helps you in any way, especially if it is outside of normal class hours, it is appropriate to thank them and let them know that you appreciate their time. Number 4, seek help appropriately. Sometimes students, whether they're in high school or in college, will get really anxious or nervous about going to a teacher early in the class. This is the wrong approach. Visit your teachers early, visit your teachers often. As soon as you don't understand something, it's important to schedule extra time to clarify with the teacher exactly what you do and don't understand. This means visiting during their office hours and scheduled help times. Make sure that you are conforming to their expectations of how and when to talk to them. Come prepared with specific questions. If you get a D on a paper, you can't just come in crying and say, why, right? You have to look at all their comments that they've given you, look at the rubric, and then come in with questions on how to improve, not necessarily just what you did wrong. Next, make sure that you have tried to solve the problems independently, right? If it's a math problem, if it's an English problem, try to solve the problem. Rewrite the sentence to the best of your ability or try to solve the math problem until the point where you're getting stuck. This will help the teacher be able to pinpoint exactly how they can help you to get you moving faster. Next, follow through on their suggestions. If a teacher is telling you what you did wrong, you can't ignore their information. Give it a try. If a teacher is telling you to revisit an issue, revisit that issue. Whatever their advice is, make sure that you actually follow that advice, and that will help them appreciate you as a learner. Now, number 5, go beyond the minimum. This means participating in subject-related clubs and competitions, doing the extra credit, even if it's not for extra credit. Share your academic goals with them. If you are interested in becoming a mathematician, your math teacher should know it. If you think you're going to become a writer, your English teacher should know that. They, when they have opportunities come to them, will think of you as top of mind, and you also will get the added benefit of them giving you additional assignments that may help you in the future. Ask for book recommendations in the field. One of the great secrets to being a great academic is reading. Reading, reading, reading. I don't know how many times I can say that. Read, read, read. So, whatever field you're interested in, ask your teacher for book recommendations. If they're actually experts in their field, they will have read hundreds of books on their subject, and they will be able to point you in the right direction for where to start your reading journey in that subject. Next, make sure that you are showing interest in their academic background. As a teacher, they have invested many, many, many hours into their craft. Be curious, ask questions. Where did they go to school? What did they study? In a kind and genuine way, showing interest in your teacher's academic background will help them understand that you genuinely appreciate them and what they have to share. Let's talk about some common mistakes to avoid. First of all, don't focus on the grades. Nothing was more frustrating to me than as an English teacher, spending lots of time reading and grading and giving comments on a paper for a student to simply look at the grade and toss the paper out. If a teacher is taking time to provide feedback and comments or a rubric, please take the time to go through those comments, to go through the rubric, and to understand how they graded you the way they did. If on a math test you get it back and it's marked as a C, and you disregard which questions you got wrong, you will continue to miss those questions in the future. As a strong student, if you get something wrong, use that as an opportunity to learn. Take the time, figure out what was actually asked, and be able to move forward. Next, avoid excessive flattery. Teachers are real people. They don't need to have anyone telling them they're the greatest in the whole world. Be genuine and authentic with your flattery and how much you appreciate them, and they will be genuine back with you. Also, don't wait until you need something to build a relationship. Don't wait until you're failing the class to figure out the teacher's name. We're very fortunate to have a free education for most K through 12 education, and even in private schools, it is critical that you are taking the time to respect these people that are giving you their knowledge and sharing their knowledge with you. So don't wait until you're totally in trouble to need their help. Start building that relationship early, and you'll be surprised in all the ways that it pays off. Next, never ask for recommendation letters at the last minute. It's just not fair. I once had a student ask for a critical letter of recommendation with less than 24 hours notice. It wasn't fair to me, and it wasn't fair to the student. When you're asking for a letter of recommendation, it's important that you're giving the teacher at least a month's time. You should also outline what you would like them to write in that letter of recommendation. Next, don't pretend to know something you don't. If a teacher asks you if you read the Odyssey and you nod your head yes, even though you have no idea what they're talking about, you are only going to make a fool of yourself in the future. And to make matters worse, whatever they're going to talk about next is going to go even more over your head. You also have demonstrated that you are not reliable or honest. If a teacher says something that you don't know what it is, ask. This brings me to another thing that I always love to talk about, which is vocabulary. When I look back on my college education and my high school education, I realized that it was probably not until my master's degree that I actually started looking up words. And during my PhD, I had a dictionary with me to look up the words of my professors as they spoke. When I was in high school and I heard a word that I didn't understand, I just kind of let it go over my head and hoped I would understand it. Little did I know that that vocab could have drastically helped my comprehension. There's a reason a teacher is using those words. If you're in a very large class and a teacher is saying words that you don't know what they mean, take a minute to jot all those words down, and at the end of class, ask the teacher what the words mean. If you're in a small classroom setting and a teacher says a word that you're unfamiliar with, raise your hand then and ask for clarification on that word. Words are power. You literally cannot even have the thought until you have the word. So adding words is adding thoughts to your ability to think and engage with the world. So I have an assignment for all of you. This is a teacher connection action plan. Here's what I want you to do. Choose 2 teachers whose classes you enjoy, who teach subjects related to your potential college major. Then, create a specific action plan for each teacher. This is going to include writing down 3 specific ways that you're going to participate more actively in their class. This could include eye contact, posture, where you sit in the room, how much you're raising your hand, how many questions you're asking, if you're going to extra help. Come up with 3 specific ways that this week you are going to be more active in their class. Then, draft a professional email. Introduce yourself and your interests in their subject. Third, schedule an office hour to visit them this month. And fourth, make note of any clubs or activities that they sponsor or that you might want to join. Then, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to notice: how many questions are you asking in class? How many conversations are you having out of class? Are you seeking extra help? Are you following through on their advice? After 2 weeks, you will notice a marked difference in your relationship with the teacher. It doesn't take too much time to connect with the teacher, but the value of connecting with the teacher is immense. Remember, this isn't about getting something from your teachers. It's about building genuine, mutually respectful relationships that will benefit your education and future opportunities. Starting tomorrow, choose one thing from your action plan to implement. Remember, The best time to start building these relationships was yesterday. The second best time is today. Wishing you all well. Have a great day.